I was certain the Indian circlet would return to the public eye one day, but to think that it would be Catherine and not Camilla who would wear it, that was a twist I never anticipated. That evening at Windsor Castle became more than just another state banquet. It unfolded as a moment dripping with historical significance, one that will likely be talked about for years to come. The Queen Mother's beloved signature tiara, a piece that had been silent for 2 decades, was finally revealed to the world once again. But in a remarkable twist, it was placed atop the head of a woman whom we usually associate with a very different type of royal jewellery. But that was only the beginning. Alongside the Indian circlet, another royal jewel, the rarest of the Greville emeralds, made its return, presented in an entirely new form. Yet to truly understand the gravity of the evening's events, we need to look back to the start of the day. For the first hint of what was to come was made that morning, right at the steps of the plane. There's a distinct crispness to the air at Windsor in December, a sharp, almost tangible stillness, as if the weight of history has settled into the very stones of the castle itself. On the 3rd of December, 2025, the King and Queen were preparing to welcome the President of Germany, and the atmosphere was thick with that blend of diplomatic anticipation and family memory. State visits, we know, are never merely about politics. They are a conversation spoken in the language of jewels. On that particular day, the ladies of the House of Windsor were speaking very clearly indeed. Let's begin with that seemingly routine moment in the morning when the Prince and Princess of Wales arrived to greet President Steinmeier. Catherine emerged, dressed in a coat of deep, intense blue. Now, traditionally, we might expect the royal family to wear colours that reflect the flag of the guest nation, perhaps touches of black, red, or gold. But on this day, they made a more subtle, sophisticated choice. They chose Prussian blue. This particular shade, which originated in Berlin in the 18th century, is deeply woven into the cultural fabric of Germany. It is a colour that speaks of stability, diplomacy, and a reverence for European heritage. It was a nod to Germany's past, but without the more obvious interpretation of their flag's colours. This was a quietly intellectual tribute to their guests, demonstrating thoughtfulness and respect. But don't be fooled by the simplicity of the colour choice. Look closer at the brooch pinned to Catherine's coat. It was the Prince of Wales' feathers brooch, a symbol of rank, not merely a decorative piece. Crafted in 1863 as a wedding gift for Princess Alexandra of Denmark, it bears the Prince of Wales's motto, Ich dien, I serve. Catherine often selects this brooch for diplomatic events, as it represents her role as the future Queen of the United Kingdom. But on this particular occasion, the fact that Ich dien is German added an extra layer of meaning. It became a subtle, yet profound reference to the nation they were welcoming, offering a quiet gesture of goodwill. But there's more. Did you notice her earrings? Catherine paired this historic brooch with the double sapphire and diamond cluster earrings that once belonged to Diana, Princess of Wales. These earrings, worn by Catherine since the Platinum Jubilee in 2022, were a perfect complement to her engagement ring. Together, they created a visual harmony of sapphires, feeling both nostalgic and entirely Catherine's own. As the party moved to Windsor Castle for the official welcome, we saw Queen Camilla, who also embraced the Prussian blue palette, stepping out in a velvet-trimmed coat of the same deep hue. But Camilla's choice of brooch was a masterstroke in dynastic history. She wore Prince Albert's brooch, a piece that carries a legacy with every sparkle. This brooch was given by Prince Albert to Queen Victoria the night before their wedding in 1840. Victoria adored it so much that she wore it on her wedding dress the following day. By wearing this specific sapphire brooch, Camilla was honouring the German roots of the British royal family, building a bridge between the monarchy's past and its present. Once the cold winds of the welcome ceremony were behind them, the group moved inside Windsor Castle to view a display of items from the royal collection. And this, dear reader, is the moment that I always find fascinating. The moment when the heavy coats come off and the indoor jewellery is revealed. It's often here that we see the most personal choices. When Catherine removed her coat, she revealed a stunning surprise. Beneath the historic 1863 brooch, she wore a 5-row pearl necklace. But these weren't pearls from the royal vaults. This was a vintage-inspired piece of costume jewellery by Susan Kaplan, a bold, modern choice that added a touch of accessible fashion to the mix. I find this juxtaposition incredibly charming, don't you? By pairing a priceless dynastic brooch with affordable, vintage-inspired jewellery, Catherine reminded us that while she is the future queen, she is also a woman of her time. She has a keen sense of how to balance the old and the new, an essential skill for any modern royal. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla, ever the emblem of royal tradition, had a different story to tell with her jewels. Pinned to her blue dress were the Greville ivy leaf clips, diamond clips in the shape of ivy leaves, made by Cartier in the 1920s and 30s. These clips were a favourite of the late Queen Elizabeth II and were a gift to Elizabeth for her 21st birthday. For Camilla, wearing these clips wasn't just about the jewellery itself, it was a moment of quiet remembrance. She wore them for the first time at King Constantine's memorial and again at Sandringham for Christmas. They have become something of a signature piece for her, a way of honouring the memory of the Queen and perhaps subtly foreshadowing what was to come later that evening. As the evening descended, the vaults were opened, and the tiara we'd all been waiting for was prepared for its sensational return. The Indian circlet, the jewel that had been absent for 20 years, was making its grand comeback. When the first images of Catherine appeared, I had to take a moment to process what I was seeing. For a brief second, I wondered if this was an AI-generated image, as it seemed too improbable to be true, and there it was, resting on Catherine's hair, the Indian circlet. It was a moment of pure royal theatre, a true coup for the monarchy. For years, jewel enthusiasts, including myself, had assumed that if this iconic piece were to return to the public eye, it would be Camilla wearing it. After all, Camilla had become the custodian of the Queen Mother's style, wearing many of her most treasured jewels. But instead, we saw a shift. The king had opened the vaults for his daughter-in-law, Catherine, and entrusted her with this historic tiara. The Indian circlet, originally designed by Prince Albert in 1851, is a masterpiece in its own right. Its inspiration came from the jewels presented to Queen Victoria by the East India Company during the Great Exhibition. Prince Albert, always the innovator, was fascinated by the exotic designs of Mughal architecture and lotus flowers, and he asked Garrard to bring his vision to life in 1853. But the circlet underwent some alterations over the years. After a legal battle in 1858, the opals originally set in the piece were replaced with Burmese rubies, which remain to this day. This piece carries with it not just a legacy of design, but a fascinating history. Queen Victoria, deeply attached to this circlet, declared it an heirloom of the crown, meant specifically for the use of future queens. It was passed down to Queen Alexandra, but superstition played a role in the changes made to the circlet. Alexandra refused to wear the opals, believing them to be unlucky, and had them replaced with rubies. For decades, the circlet was worn by Queen Elizabeth during her widowhood. But in 2005, it made its last public appearance when Elizabeth II wore it in Malta before falling silent. Until that evening, when Catherine's bold choice to wear it turned the page of history once again. Catherine's look was a revelation. She wore the circlet with her hair styled loosely, paired with a deep, icy blue Jenny Packham gown. The combination created an unmistakable medieval queen-like presence. Yet, this modern interpretation of the circlet was a departure from its usual styling, as we are accustomed to seeing it anchored deeply into voluminous hairstyles, framing the face. On Catherine, it sat higher, its silhouette slightly tilted, an unexpected but bold move that demonstrated a new era for the monarchy. And did you notice the earrings? Catherine paired this Victorian masterpiece with the Queen's diamond chandelier earrings, a long-term loan from the late Queen Elizabeth. These earrings dazzled, certainly, but I found myself wondering if a pair of ruby earrings might have complemented the circlet even more, drawing attention to the Burmese rubies. However, this was a minor quibble in the face of such a breathtaking moment. Queen Camilla, however, wasn't simply a bystander in this jewellery drama. She chose to wear the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a piece that carries immeasurable sentimental value. Known as Granny's Tiara by the late Queen Elizabeth, it was a gift given to her by Queen Mary in 1947. For Camilla, wearing this tiara was a powerful connection to the past, a reminder of the continuity of the crown. Camilla's jewellery choices weren't just about preserving history, they were also about making it her own. The Greville emerald necklace, which had been worn by the Queen Mother, was transformed by Camilla into a modern piece. She removed the heavy cabochon emerald drops, which had once defined the necklace, and instead opted for a sleeker, more minimalist design. This modification was a masterstroke in royal curating, demonstrating that Camilla isn't just a custodian of royal jewels, she is a curator of history itself, moulding it to fit her personal style. To further connect her look with the past, Camilla revived the Queen Mother's Cartier Art Deco bracelets. These geometric diamond bands, which were once a signature look for the Queen Mother, added a dazzling sparkle to her wrist. By stacking several of them, Camilla made a bold statement, a tribute to the past, while embracing her own distinctive royal style. And then there was the small but crucial detail, the diamond bar brooch that secured her sash of the Order of Merit. This brooch, commissioned by Queen Victoria in 1838, isn't just a beautiful ornament. It is a piece of history, designed specifically for the duty of securing ceremonial ribbons. By wearing this brooch, Camilla signaled her commitment to royal duty while embracing the history of her own royal position. But the evening's surprises didn't end with Catherine and Camilla. Two other senior royals, the Princess Royal and the Duchess of Gloucester, revealed jewels that had only recently been removed from museum displays. Both of them wore tiaras that had been showcased in a prestigious Cartier exhibition. Another reminder that these royal jewels are not just artifacts, but living pieces of history. The Princess Royal, always practical, wore the aquamarine pine flower tiara, a gift from her grandfather, King George VI, to his wife, the future Queen Mother. This tiara, featuring diamond and aquamarine pine cone motifs, is a fitting tribute to the Queen Mother's enduring strength. Meanwhile, the Duchess of Gloucester wore the Cartier India tiara, an imposing piece featuring sapphires, pearls, and diamonds set in the style of Mughal architecture. This tiara, which once belonged to Princess Marie-Louise, is a powerful symbol of royal history. And then there was Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, who brought a modern twist to the evening. She wore the aquamarine necklace tiara by G. Collins and Sons paired with the Nuage collection from Graff. The combination of sea green aquamarines and bold electric blue sapphires made a statement, though not one without its critics. Many royal watchers felt that the pairing of the tiara and necklace didn't quite work in harmony. Despite the mixed opinions, Sophie looked stunning. Her grace always outshines any piece of jewelry. But there was a lingering question. Will the king open the royal vaults to her in the future? Sophie's royal role is growing, and it seems only natural that she should have access to the full array of royal jewels. As the evening came to a close, one thing became abundantly clear. The royal vaults are finally, truly opening. Under King Charles, there are no longer untouchable reserves. These pieces are no longer locked away in the dark. They are being allowed to breathe, to sparkle, and to tell their stories once again. As the evening came to a close, one thing became abundantly clear. The royal vaults are finally truly opening. Under King Charles, there are no longer untouchable reserves. These pieces are no longer locked away in the dark. They are being allowed to breathe, to sparkle, and to tell their stories once again. But now I turn the question to you. Who was the absolute sensation of the evening? Was it Catherine, with her unexpected choice of the Indian circlet? Or was it Camilla's modernization of the Greville emeralds? Perhaps it was the sheer majestic presence of the Duchess of Gloucester, or maybe the mix of modern and vintage with the Duchess of Edinburgh. Let me know in the comments. I always love hearing your thoughts on these fascinating details. And if you enjoyed unraveling the hidden history of royal jewels with me, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to our next exploration of royal history together.